Tonight, Russia is flexing its muscles and sending a clear message to the Trump administration and other Western nations. The Russian military put on a major display of force, and more than 20 ambassadors were summoned right in front of TV cameras. KCAL 9 political reporter Bryan joins us with more on Russia's big show.
Yeah, Peter, this situation seems to be sort of deteriorating or escalating, as the case may be, by the day, and that's not a good situation. This is still the fallout from the poisoning of a former Russian spy and his daughter in England, an attempted murder which the authorities have little doubt was carried out by Russians. It's Russia's retaliation for the expulsion of its diplomats by the U.S. and other Western nations, and the international dispute continues to escalate. For Russian President Vladimir Putin, nothing sends a message to the U.S. and the Trump administration like showing off some new missiles. So Putin is doing some saber-rattling this week, bragging about a new nuclear weapon system that he says is capable of evading any kind of missile defense.
This new system has virtually no limitations on distance. As you can see from the video, it is capable of attacking targets via both the North and South Pole.
Russia claims the new state-of-the-art intercontinental ballistic missile being shown on a test launch, nicknamed Satan II, is a breakthrough of epic proportions. And just to make sure the message was communicated clearly, one Russian animation even showed the airborne weapons attacking Florida, a not-so-subtle reminder that Russia could reach President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. The top U.S. commander who oversees America's nuclear arsenal was not surprised by Putin's show.
Well, nothing he said surprised me. Once again, we have very good intelligence capabilities, and we watch very closely. So nothing he said surprised me.
It's probably not a coincidence that the Russian missile launch came just 24 hours after U.S. diplomats were expelled from Russia in retaliation for the U.S. kicking out Russians as part of the global response to the poisoning of a former Russian spy and his daughter.
Any linkage of nuclear deterrence with the current spat is an upgrade that I think one needs to be careful about. I worry about accident and miscommunication, but the mere notion that there's a minor chance of something going awry on the nuclear side should disturb us all.
And speaking of retaliation, Friday it was Russia's turn to respond to those countries which expelled Russian diplomats in response to that poisoning of the former spy and his daughter. And it was quite a sight. A stream of foreign ambassadors summoned to Russia's foreign ministry. 23 foreign ambassadors in all, summoned to inform them that some of their diplomats would be thrown out of the country. By the time it was over, more than 100 diplomats were joining the mass exodus from Moscow. The massive expulsion of diplomats on both sides has reached a scale unseen even at the height of the Cold War. And the message to the West? Russia will hit back at any moves made against it by Western governments.
I'm afraid that if the overall fabric of the relationship gets thinner and thinner, we have a real problem.
And tonight, another twist. The New York Times reporting that some senior Trump administration officials are pressing for more aggressive action toward Russia, hoping to persuade a reluctant President Trump to change his approach after the mass diplomatic expulsions. And another item, the Pentagon reportedly said that it had no notice of the Russian test of the new intercontinental ballistic missile conducted by Russia, a lack of communication that experts fear could lead to a dangerous miscalculation. Peter, it's getting scary out there.
Very scary. All right.